More Christians die in Nigeria from violent attacks than any other country in the world, according to our research. A couple of years ago, it was more than 5,000 people died from attacks. And it's not just death, but it's also rape. It is serious injuries on the body.
But when you do talk about Nigeria, and there's different types of persecution. You have obviously, imprisonment you talked about. You have the murder types. When you talk about Nigeria, what exactly is happening over there? Because from basic research, I believe it is obviously an Islamic group. They're coming in, they're killing even some Muslims as well, but primarily targeting Christians. What exactly is Nigeria, and how does it differentiate from, per se, North Korea, China, something along those lines?
Yeah. The differentiation for Nigeria is the level of violence, the degree of violence meted out on Christians.
Okay.
More Christians die in Nigeria from violent attacks than any other country in the world, according to our research. A couple of years ago, it was more than 5,000 people died from attacks. And it's not just death, but it's also rape. It is serious injuries on the body. I visited Cameroon, which borders Nigeria, and we talked to some of those Christians. There was a child who a stray bullet had knocked out her eye and also cut off her thumb, and another stray bullet killed her 2-year-old brother who was asleep next to his mother. You could see the pain and the agony in the mother's eyes. How do you process the death of your 2-year-old from a vicious attack by people you don't know, but who simply hate you because you are a Christian? And so I would say the greatest differentiator for Nigeria is the level and degree of violence that is meted out on people. And actually, Nigeria in Africa is where Open Doors, through partners, spends most of its money because of the level of violence. And violence also displaces people. And so there were thousands of Christians who have been displaced by the violence, chased away from their homes. They live in makeshift tents. And so it is very disruptive, hugely disruptive to the lives of our fellow Christians.
When you talk about helping out these countries, like this, obviously you have to imagine, now correct me if I'm wrong here, but the approach in terms of Nigeria due to the level of violence might be different than the approach you take in a China or North Korea per se. So what does that look like if you're trying to help somebody in Nigeria as opposed to, say, China or something along those lines? What is the difference in terms of how you can help, or how resources, if donated, can kind of help out?
The difference is that in Nigeria, the kind of support they need would be material assistance. If they're displaced, they need tents, they need beddings, they need coverings, they need food for a limited time. Their farms have been destroyed, they have nowhere to grow food. Uh, in a different location, the kind of help needed is more Bibles, digital Bibles mainly, audio Bible players, the four works. It could be Bibles, it could be occasional support of medicines, but most importantly, it is mainly discipleship and training resources in addition to the Bible, resources that help families just go through what the Bible says about persecution and God's involvement, just raising that awareness. So that's the difference you would see. So in a Nigeria situation, sometimes if you see the work, it looks like a typical sort of emergency relief assistance program in
Okay.
some cases. And in other countries which are more covert, you mentioned North Korea, it's mainly literature,
Mm.
Bible and Christian literature, and maybe a little bit of medicine, that sort of thing.
All right. Well, in terms of Nigeria, I'm just curious because I'm not sure if you have an exact answer to this, but you're leading a country out there, Nigeria. How do you possibly allow this stuff to happen on your land? Because you said this didn't just happen in 2025 and isn't just happening in 2026. This has been going on for many, many years now. And you see just innocent blood being shed, whether you support Islam or Christians, whatever it is, just to see innocent bloodshed has to be baffling to me. I know you don't see that happening pretty much anywhere else without outrage occurring. So why has this been allowed? Why does the government stand still and allow this stuff to happen on their territory that they're supposed to be able to govern over?
The various reasons are number one, I would say it's a religious philosophy, okay, by Islam. So, and that philosophy is this land belongs to us, and we need to occupy every inch of this land and spread our religion across this land. So there's a religious philosophy behind that, which is different from Christians. Christians don't have a religious philosophy that drives them to occupy land to displace people in the name of religion. The second thing is that there are fault lines, if I could call them that, between Christians and Muslims that have been there for a long time. It's historical.
Yep.
And so in Nigeria, the southern half of the country is, let's say, Christian, and the northern half of the country is Muslim. And so there is a fault line there where there's whatever you can call it competition, but I think as Christians, we can call it just a spiritual war of sorts, because Christians, both religions are evangelizing religions or converting religions, right?
Right.
And so there is a competition of sorts there, but each one defines that competition in a different way. And so Nigeria is unique, at least in as a country. It's a big country, large population,
Right.
highly educated people. But these conflicts between, or this issue between Christians and Muslims has been going on for a long time. It wasn't always called persecution of Christians, but I think through the efforts of Open Doors and others who have done the research, who have done the interviews of many people, it has become abundantly clear that it's actually a persecution issue for the Christians.
When you talk specific of the Nigerian government, is there something militarily they could do? Obviously, like I said, you look at something along those lines, you would see that if that happened in America, I'm sure there'd be law enforcement, something would be happening quickly to shut that down. Is there something that you would like to see Nigeria do as a government to say, you know what, we will send in some form of an operation to carry out to try to eliminate, calm the peace, eliminate this stuff happening right now? Is that something you would like to see, or is that even possible?
Well, I think the Nigerian government knows what they should do. It's a fairly sophisticated government. They have tracked these conflicts for a long time. And I think there have been certainly some attempts in the past to do something about it, so particularly against the radical, easily identifiable religious groups, and Boko Haram and others like them. So the government has tried to shut them down, has tried to contain them. There's even been a multi-country effort to do that because they cause chaos, okay? And they do cause chaos to everybody a lot of the time. Uh, but I don't know why it's very difficult to contain them. I can guess that one of the reasons is that you have an armed group uh, that is that has intelligence, that is able to keep growing. So you might, eliminate part of it, but it just doesn't die because the underlying philosophy, the religious philosophy, is deeply motivating to those who adhere to it, and so it will just keep going.
When you see what's happening in Nigeria, what exactly happens in that persecution? You see other places in Africa. Like, what are those types of persecutions, the violent types, actually entail?
Well, it's a variety of things. It could be uh, it could be a mass attack of a village that is said to be Christian. Now, are all the people in that village Christian, meaning believers in Jesus Christ? No, it's just that they're not of the other religion. All right. Um, but some of them are true believers in Jesus Christ. So you find a mix. So mass attacks. Some of them are just family members persecuting fellow family members who have converted to Christ. And so they'll put them on the street, they'll beat them. In some cases, they will try to kill them. I know we don't have time, but some of the attempts and what God does sometimes to protect people miraculously. So I won't tell you the names or places, but there was one brother who told us that one of his own relatives who had an automatic gun pointed it at him, and he knew he was going to die. And he braced himself for the impact of those bullets, tearing into his body. The gun jammed. An angel of the Lord jammed it. And he had his eyes closed, and someone said to him, "Run." He touched him and said, "Run." There was a big crowd gathered there. He ran through that crowd. That's how he escaped. And eventually, in his case, he had to leave that country because his family, a high-ranking family with very religious people, they were determined to snuff out his life. He had deeply betrayed them, according to them, and because he was being groomed to become one of those top religious leaders, and he came to Christ. And so they knew he had betrayed them, and the only answer is to eliminate him. So targeted family attacks, that's another way. Then another way is governments that just hate our faith in Christ. They see it as a threat to their stability, as a threat to communities. And so they will enact laws, they will adopt methods to try and stifle or destroy. Now, that one we know about because we know it happened in the New Testament, it's happened over the centuries.
Right.
So there are different ways like that, but those are just three examples.
If this conversation blessed you today, please hit the like button and subscribe. It genuinely helps YouTube push this message to more people who need to hear it. If you're listening on audio, a 5-star review is a huge help. Share this episode with a friend or family member who needs encouragement and let me know your thoughts in the comments. God bless, and I'll see you in the next one.